Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star based on novel. So let's start. The characters etched on the ice tablet were divulging the only living chance within all of Ice Hell. Since the last massacre, Ice Hell has detained 12,000 undying of the barbarian race, each of whom has an identification tag. Anyone who can gather 10,000 tags will be able to leave Ice Hell safely, whereas those who can't will be killed. This is what it means by massacre. There was a massacre before, and there was one powerful man of the human race left the Ice Hell in one piece. Barbarian races, uttered Luo Feng. This is your only chance to survive. Fight and take others' tags if you want to get out. And only one of you will be able to make it. Each character contained an incredible and terrific godly power, and that stress struck the surroundings continuously like a billow. Even knights couldn't subdue Luo Feng, let alone the characters left by them. How cruel this Green Knight is, Luo Feng whispered, by giving a glimpse of hope to the detainees while depriving them of all the other chances. Only one out of the 12 undying can get out, whereas all others will be killed. The strong are unreconciled to surrender to the fate, and they'll fight. That's how it came to be one slaughter after another, full of maliciousness. And that's why there were breakdowns after constant failures, which led to suicides. The Purple Knight and the Green Knight had detained those undying who had ventured among Ice Hell stars in eternity, or souls with some special skills. It was likely that all the powerful, who had some solid background, or were valued by their clans, had been taken away by the superior races, whereas those who were detained here had no connections. The clans forgot about them. The only thing they could do was to struggle. Only one will win. Luo Feng sighed in his heart. And I can't even know for sure that the one who got out actually survived, or was killed by the Purple Knight the moment he stepped outside. Ice Hell couldn't detain the real geniuses like Kudi, Luo Feng, Seven Blade Emperor, and Lifefall Emperor, who were especially valued by their own clans and had emergency help. The supreme creatures of the clans, like the Masters of the Universe, would come pick them up. The Purple Knight and the Green Knight didn't have the guts to disobey the Masters of the Universe. Masters were Shan Ku, Luo Feng murmured, it's not typical of you to give me such a dangerous, but useless task to steal the black metal from here. Ice Hell is what you want me to experience. You want to let me feel the struggles of the powerful. You want to make clear to me the fundamental rule of the universe, the law of the jungle. Luo Feng continued muttering to himself. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Luo Feng stood in front of the ice tablet silently. On the snowfield 70,000 kilometers away from Luo Feng, following a noise that sounded like a transparent leaf gradually appeared from within the snow, facing the direction of Luo Feng. Human. It's human. The only human in Ice Hell. He must have the machine to connect to the virtual universe, possibly an anonymous connector. The powerful one deep in the snow was thrilled because the previous soul-swallowing beast was reluctant to fight Luo Feng, while the dead powerful one of the Ka2 clan wanted nothing but death. Anonymous account. The virtual universe. The virtual universe that belongs to a human. The powerful one deep in the snow couldn't suppress his desire. It was too lonely for him to stay in Ice Hell, while the anonymous connector used by humans could be used by them as well. To the powerful ones in Ice Hell, it was definitely a treasure worth fighting for, as it could placate their loneliness. Kill. Kill him. I want to connect to the virtual universe. A blurry, transparent figure 80 meters tall suddenly jumped out of the snow. Following his teleportation, it vanished in the air. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Luo Feng was still standing in front of the enormous ice tablet when a strange, 80-meter tall creature resembling a 30-story skyscraper suddenly appeared behind him. It was covered with leaves, which were transparent like glass. Its thick vines held a long, black chain. With a call that sounded like hualolo, the black chain came winding toward Luo Feng like a fiercely dancing snake. Luo Feng opened his wings, leaving a locus with twists, and flew behind the creature. The chain fell to the snowfield instead of winding around Luo Feng. The land trembled with chasms, but the ice tablet remained intact. Human. The transparent creature roared. It's useless to run. No matter how fast you are. Who? Who? The black chain reached its speed limit, with a halo around it. At the time, Luo Feng saw nothing but countless illusions of the chain. At this point, Luo Feng could but admit that when the opposite side was giving its best, his flight and arm speeds were, indeed, relatively slower. 6 black balls with fuzzy purple halos appeared around Luo Feng's palms. He threw them out randomly. How? The lore engravings on the 6 black balls became a plethora of golden threads, triggering the universe origin lore all at once. Suddenly, a phantom of a several hundred-meter-long beast god appeared in the sky, storming toward the transparent creature with its attacking claw. The creature wasn't careless, and it controlled its chain to defend against the beast. Ping! The claw of the beast god whacked the black chain away. The chain fell onto the snowfield afar, cracking the whole field, and the chain slipped into the depths of the field. How? The beast god was bellowing, beating the creature's body with its claw directly. The transparent creature vanished and dodged the attack. It reappeared behind Luo Feng and tried to grab him with its thick arm under the leaves. Space lock. Luo Feng turned on the arm of locking sky on his armor, after which the fluctuations in the space stopped suddenly. The characters of the aboriginals living on Yangji land were looming in the air, and at the same time, Luo Feng vibrated his wings and pulled a move from Moon Policy. His wings cut like blades. The transparent creature felt its arm being slashed by a bizarre strength. A transparent arm fell onto the snow from the sky. Die. Luo Feng looked at the creature from afar, and the beast god was marching toward it, roaring. The living being brayed and tried to escape by going underground. Meanwhile, it waved its chain to stop the beast god. However, Luo Feng's power, with his spiritual force, could match that of the top of Emperor-level Undying, and together with the star map, even the best Emperor-level monsters were not his match, not to mention this transparent creature, which just entered the apex of Emperor level. The beast god whacked the black chain again, and grabbed it with its claw. Slice. The claw thrust into its body, with the 6 balls covered with Famo venom injected inside. No, the creature screamed with great despair. It was one of the least powerful ones among the survivors in Ice Hell, but it was still extremely resistant to harm. For one, it had the power of teleportation, and it had a gigantic body. Even with his body burning rapidly, he could persist much longer than other creatures. However, half of its godly body was destroyed the moment the 6 black balls went through it. The 6 black balls turned into 6 traces of light and flew back to Luo Feng's hands, after which, they disappeared. Human, the creature said as it looked to Luo Feng. You should know that half of your body is gone, said Luo Feng, and although he said it this way, he was awed by the creature's vitality. After all, the 6 poisonous pearls could only destroy 30% of the limit emperors, where it damaged barely 50% of this more fragile peak emperor. Luo Feng looked at the transparent creature. You can only use 1/10 of your strength now, he said. And you're not even my match. It gazed at Luo Feng in the snow. Human, say whatever you want to say. I admit that I'm not your equal and you're faster than me, so there's no chance for me to escape. I'm all yours, now. But you have to understand, hardly anyone is afraid of death in Ice Hell. I'll self-destruct if I'm rendered with no choice. I just saw one that exploded, Luo Feng said, smiling faintly, so don't try to blow yourself up, as it won't pose any danger to me. However, I do have something to ask you now, and if you answer honestly, I can spare your life. Spare my life? The creature found it impossible to believe. I always keep my promises. Luo Feng landed on the ground and said, I've already given you a chance. Don't you waste it. Ask, human, it responded. What kind of creatures are you? Luo Feng asked him pointedly. I know almost every creature in the universe. He wondered how there was another species he didn't know of. If it were a special life, it would make sense. However, it didn't fight like one. I'm from the Kangjing clan, the creature answered, and it's one of the botanic creatures. But I met with a mishap when adventuring in the secret area of the universe, and I turned into this after mutation. Mutation? Luo Feng was dazed. Actually, black warriors who used blood river crystals and therefore had their genes and body shapes changed went through a process similar to mutation. Nine Dome Tome, for example, could help genes experience one great leap after another. But comparatively, it was more refined, so it didn't leave any visible change on the outside. I'll ask you again, Luo Feng said. Why did you come and try to kill me without knowing you'd succeed? Human, the creature of the Kangjiang clan answered with a deep voice. You should know that although most of the creatures trapped in Ice Hell have a strong desire for survival, they've lost their prudence after being here for such a long time. To some extent, they might lust for death. That's why they'll fight the strangers without knowing their power. Because there's no downside to it. Don't compare the circumstances of the outside world to those of Ice Hell. There are extremely powerful creatures in Ice Hell, and some of them are special. All of them are able to survive the infinite time. Peak emperors like me don't even stand a chance, and we're struggling because we don't want to give in. The creature looked at Luo Feng. As for me, it continued, I came to kill you because I want that anonymous sensor. I want to sense the virtual universe. I want to feel the world outside. Sensor. Luo Feng was bewildered. Loneliness, the creature said, staring at Luo Feng. Grappling between life and death for countless eras with no end in sight. Can you even imagine how luxurious it is to enter the virtual universe? Luo Feng nodded after hearing what it said. He could understand how much those powerful ones, who were detained for countless eras, wanted to enter the virtual universe, as he saw and reunited with his family when he was adventuring in the universe. The virtual universe made Luo Feng feel as if it were reality, and he believed that those detained here had the same desire. Do you have an anonymous sensor? The creature of Kangjiang clan suddenly asked. Luo Feng was stupefied. I'll do anything for you if you let me enter the virtual universe and get in touch with the outside, the creature continued. I don't have one, Luo Feng said, shaking his head. The creature was left in despair. Luo Feng didn't show any empathy, because he knew that nobody could ever know that he had the sensor. If they did, he would become the common enemy to everyone in Ice Hell. And those powerful ones would conspire to attack him. Luo Feng was not that stupid. Let me ask you one more thing. Luo Feng looked at the giant creature in front of him. Do you all believe that you can make your way out if you get 10,000 tags? I do. Of course, I do. The creature looked more vital. The Green Knight said it long before, in public, that he would not play us. And anyway, we have no choice but to trust him. Luo Feng frowned. How was Ice Hell in the past eras? How many have survived? How powerful are they? Killing. Backstabbing. Intrigue. One can do anything for that slight trace of hope. The creature gave an ear-piercing laugh. Humans. The powerful ones in Ice Hell were much more ruthless than those outside. Some are even willing to perish together. Luo Feng recalled the powerful one of the Ka2 clan, and how it had blown itself up. It did have the intention of fighting Luo Feng, and had wanted to perish with him. However, it couldn't even touch him, and didn't even care whether or not Luo Feng was beside it when it committed suicide. As for powers, the creature went on. The potential of the powerful ones could be stimulated under extreme pressure. Since the Infinite Era, 860 powerful ones have survived. 860. Luo Feng sighed, because it meant that 11,000 undying were dead. Everyone was pushed to the edge, the creature said. And that's why those who come from a strong bloodline have an advantage. Among the 860 survivors, peak emperors and high-level emperors were the least powerful, and high-level emperors can do nothing but hide. As for peak emperors, they have the guts to fight, but they are in the bottom 800. Also, there are 50 limit emperors. On top of that, there are 10 who are almost as powerful as invincible emperors and 5 who are, indeed, invincible emperors. Let me show you something. It waved its enormous arm, after which, a huge ice tablet fell from the sky. Luo Feng took a look. It was 10-meter-tall ice tablet, on which were thickly dotted demon race characters. This is the ranking of the powerful ones in Ice Hell. The Kangjiang creature groaned. It was too lonely and dull to stay in Ice Hell, and it was impossible to practice at ease, because you can be attacked at any time. During the infinite amount of time spent here, the ranking is one of the few things that pique our interest. One of the invincible emperors, Sky Wolf, ranked everyone according to their strengths. How is it possible to rank everyone? Luo Feng said, scowling. When two are equal, it's difficult to tell which one will prevail in a fight. Of course, we know, said the creature. However, the ranking by Sky Wolf is credible, and it's based on all the combat that has taken place in Ice Hell. Although they are hopeless, getting into the top 100 or top 50 is an improvement for them. Don't you think it's pathetic? We're so lonesome that we're fixated on the ranking. The creature laughed with its body trembling. Luo Feng looked at the ranking on the tablet. It is good of you to defeat me, the creature continued. However, those terrifically powerful ones are very strong. Neither the 5 invincible emperors nor the 10 that come close are easy to deal with. And you, as a newcomer, will surely be subjected to one sneak attack after another. Unless you can defeat the limit emperors and prove yourself, you will endure it forever. Luo Feng nodded. Go, he said. You're really letting me go? The creature couldn't help asking. Luo Feng looked at him. I'll change my mind if you don't. I'll give you a suggestion, human, said the creature. Don't have any form of kindness here, or you'll only end up with misery. The creature's voice echoed in the sky while he escaped using teleportation. Luo Feng had already undone the space. Luo Feng looked at the tablet on the ground and remembered everything on it with a glance. He then put it into the world ring. As for the advice from the creature, he didn't take it to heart. The powerful didn't change their personalities, just because of a line from others. Creature of Ka2 clan, ranked 732, Luo Feng mumbled. Creature of Kangjiang clan, ranked 611. Soul-swallowing beast, ranked 102. He realized that the creatures of the Ka2 clan and the Kangjiang clan, whom he had defeated, were ranked at the bottom, whereas the soul-swallowing beast was ranked high because of its gift. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Luo Feng had a clear picture of Ice Hell by reading the passage on the tablet. In the center of Ice Hell was Ice Sea. There were 5 districts in Ice Hell: Ice Sea, Eastern Ice Hell, Western Ice Hell, Northern Ice Hell, and Southern Ice Hell. The 5 invincible emperors had their own manners, and would fight each other only under uncommon circumstances. 3 of the invincible emperors are special creatures, Luo Feng muttered to himself. One of the remaining 2 is from the Sea Iron clan, the other is the Sky Wolf from the Royal Demon race. The golden horned beasts were 10 times stronger than humans. The bodies of human peak emperors were 100,000 times more forceful than those of sector lords, whereas the bodies of the beast were 1,000,000 times more forceful. Nevertheless, the weakest special creatures could match the level of golden horned beasts, not to mention the ones in Ice Hell. The weakest special species was 60 times as forceful than human beings, and the strongest was 200 times as forceful. Putting aside other amplitude scrolls, the strongest one out of the 3 peak emperors was 20 million times more forceful than sector lords. How unbelievable. The Sea Iron clan was a scarce race in the universe, and was comparable to the Mo Sho clan. They were 10 times more forceful than humans. Sky Wolf, on the other hand, was the least gifted one and was 6 times more forceful than humans. In short, the 5 invincible emperors were highly gifted, per se, and after an infinite amount of time of torture, every one of them had tremendous powers. 3 special creatures survived Ice Hell, and all of them became invincible. Luo Feng sighed. Special creatures are indeed almighty. The constitution of human bodies is comparatively weaker, and it was more difficult for them to reach the invincible level. Luo Feng gradually realized the disadvantages facing the human races in the universe. Humans were barely mediocre when it came to body constitution. However, a few of the supreme beings that could shake the whole universe came from the human race. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Luo Feng built an underground residence in the snow beside the ice sea. He was practicing there temporarily. According to the ranking on the tablet, each of the invincible emperors is as powerful as my teacher, Truyang Emperor, Luo Feng whispered. I'm not capable enough to get 10,000 tags, but it's a good thing. I'll treat it as a chance to steel myself, after which I'll defeat them one by one. Only then will I walk out of Ice Hell. As for Purple Knight, it doesn't matter whether it means to let me go or not. If it wants to toy with me, I'll summon my teacher, Burgrave of Chaos City. I'll make it lose everything. Luo Feng closed his eyes and cleared his mind. While everyone else was busy trying to get out of here, Luo Feng would treat it as a practice field. Asterisk 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 asterisk. A 3-meter-high red creature, covered with bony spurs, marched through the snow. It wore a scarlet mask, and the 10,000 square kilometer area was engulfed in fire under the hefty law. Everywhere it touched evaporated. However, when it walked by, the water in the boiling lakes coagulated into snow under the effects of Ice Hell, as if nothing had happened. It stopped and looked down. Footprints, it said. A stranger's footsteps. The voice had echoes in its chest. There is a stranger in Ice Hell, it said. How reckless was he that he dared not to erase his footsteps? Is it confidence? It strode. The snow it passed by turned into boiling lakes, and the entire law field was under its detection. Eventually, it reached the shoreline of Ice Sea. A silver shadow jumped up into the sky. He opened his wings and floated in the air, overlooking everything beneath. The barbarian looked up at Luo Feng and smirked. That giant eye was filled with madness. Human, it bellowed. Bone Emperor, 10 of the Limit Emperors, Luo Feng said, looking down upon it with this information in his mind. Ranked 11. 5 invincible emperors and the 10 top limit emperors were the 15 most powerful creatures in Ice Hell. Other than those 5 invincible emperors, the 10 limit emperors weren't scared of anything. Human. Human, it growled, growing madder by the second. Bone Emperor. Luo Feng's voice passed over from the above. The sense of war and killing intent permeated the air. The fights during the infinite time in Ice Hell stripped away the hopes of the lowly ones like Creature of Kangjiang clan and Creature of Ka2 clan, leading some to even want to commit suicide. However, creatures like Soul-Swallowing Beast didn't have any death wishes. As for the 10 rampant emperors who basically ruled Ice Hell, each of them was fraught with ambition. Although they were still at a disadvantage compared to the 5 invincible emperors, it was possible for them to catch up and get out. Fight. They fought excessively to improve themselves. Bone Emperor was filled with hostility and gazing at Luo Feng. You didn't run away. Good for you. The 10 emperors' fame is widespread, Luo Feng said. If other creatures in Ice Hell run into you, they would indeed run away. As for me, I won't run if I'm not defeated by you. Luo Feng was floating in the air. I'll run like hell if you defeat me. You won't have a chance by then, Bone Emperor said in a deep voice echoing in his chest. The space around it was frozen, thus neither of them could teleport. Bone Emperor vanished and rushed at Luo Feng like a beam of light. Luo Feng cried, vibrating his wings, leaving a locus with twists. At the same time, 8 black balls appeared around his hands. He threw them randomly, with the lore engravings on the balls triggered. Innumerable golden threads bustled, and a beast god came into being. Bone Emperor didn't scratch anything. It turned around and looked at Luo Feng and the beast god from afar, smiling as it said, fast enough. And here's a controller. Good. How? The beast god marched toward it, roaring. Bone Emperor laughed furiously. A blurry reflection of the whip clashed with Bone Emperor's claw, creating a shockwave that tore the surroundings apart. Bone Emperor was blown away by the force, and the beast god became indistinct for a while before solidifying again. Seeing the snow turn back to its original shape, Bone Emperor looked up at Luo Feng and said, Human, now I admit that you're qualified to see my real fight form. His voice was like thunder reverberating in the air. At the same time, Bone Emperor suddenly even more unbelievable. His bone spurs contracted into his body, and his entire body was heightened. The color of its body changed from red to white. The moment it stopped transforming, it became silvery white, covered with armor made of twisted bones. This is your fighting form, Bone Emperor. Great. Luo Feng shot him a sharp look. Take this. It was the limit of will. The strong will was guiding his conscience, and the beast god became more distinct under spiritual force, marching toward Bone Emperor. However, Bone Emperor stood with confidence and only waved its right claw when the beast god's tail slashed toward it. Slice. The right claw tore the space apart, whereas the tail of the beast god retreated before whipping incessantly. Sneaky guy. Bone Emperor said as it rushed toward Luo Feng. Its claws became phantoms. There was a pair of gloves on its claws, and that pair was the only treasure it had. If there was anything different between the powerful ones from inside Ice Hell and those from the outside, the number of their treasures was a clear indicator. Like Bone Emperor, it could get several treasures given its status. However, it only got one here. Nevertheless, after the struggle between life and death and the countless pressures, Bone Emperor was able to make the best use of the gloves. Although it had only one treasure, it could wield the power that resembled that of the several treasures combined owned by the powerful ones outside. Bone Emperor faced the beast god, and its claws became countless phantoms, making attacks continuously. The tail of the beast god was finally cracked, and the 8 black balls were destroyed. How mighty! Luo Feng muttered. He was stupefied by how Bone Emperor had dashed and destroyed the beast god in its fight form. The power of Bone Emperor was at Haiti Emperor level, and this form of madness was even more terrifying. Die, human! Bone Emperor flew directly at Luo Feng the moment it defeated the beast god. Luo Feng shook his wings and escaped. Bone Emperor, I admire your power, said Luo Feng. I'm not your match and therefore, I'll take off now. I'll fight you next time. Luo Feng had already flown away by the time his voice reached Bone Emperor. It stopped halfway and growled, seeing how fast Luo Feng was. It looked at Luo Feng's silhouette from afar. This human being is indeed extremely fast, it said. Faster than the 5 invincible emperors. It seems there will be another superpower in Ice Hell. Even though Bone Emperor had barely fought with Luo Feng, it could immediately tell Luo Feng's power. He was a little stronger than average emperors, while he had the fastest teleportation speed in Ice Hell. Such a human being could certainly pose a threat to the 10 most powerful limit emperors. There's going to be more fun, said Bone Emperor. More fun in Ice Hell. Bone Emperor was pleased. It didn't care for the dull times spent in Ice Hell, and it wanted some creatures with special power here to spice things up. Asterisk 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 asterisk. After fleeing from the space range, Jihong Emperor appeared deep in the snow and teleported Luo Feng to Eastern Ice Hell. It built an underground residence deep in the snow. I underestimated the creatures in Ice Hell. Luo Feng recalled the battle with wine in his hand. I thought those creatures weren't that powerful when detained in a place where they had only gradually grown stronger. I thought they didn't have treasures, and even if they did, that only the most powerful ones would have 1 or 2. But I was wrong. The power of 1 treasure can match that of 10 if it's properly used, Luo Feng thought. The powerful could only concentrate on one of the treasures they had in a combat. Also, the powerful ones in Ice Hell are different from those outside. They had more pressure and were pressed more harshly, which forced them to improve themselves no matter what. If they could acquire a single treasure, they would study it thoroughly and make the best use of it. Luo Feng kept contemplating. Although the powerful outside will also study their treasures, they won't put up so much effort. Bone Emperor. Its body constitution barely enters the threshold of average emperor. However, it has a treasure that is the perfect match for its claws. The movement of its claws and body perfectly coordinate with each other. Luo Feng believed it was the secret move invented by Bone Emperor, because it was impossible to reach such a level by studying others. Luo Feng nodded his head while contemplating. The powerful in Ice Hell concentrated more on themselves, and were more capable of wielding the power of treasures. The powerful outside had more treasures and moves. This was the key difference between them. I was wrong, said Luo Feng. Ever since I created the first move of Moon Policy, and left Chaos City, I haven't studied any secret moves. Luo Feng sighed. Not until today do I realize how important it is to have a series of secret moves that correspond to the treasure. My treasure, the star map, is mighty, and I need to come up with a series of secret moves to better utilize it. Moon Policy was the law of Blade, which was the combat method of Shou Wing. After all, the golden horned beast that Luo Feng owned did close combat, and Shou Wing couldn't be wasted. Hence, he must keep up designing Moon Policy. However, Luo Feng needed another set of secret moves that were fit for a spiritual force leader. Let's begin, Luo Feng muttered. Treasures, genes, amplitude, and secret moves. Some of them focus on the outer body and some on the inner. I don't need to train the outer body now, because I can't gain any process in a short time, so I'll train my inner capabilities. The star map can only be better utilized if I can come up with secret moves. The star map was the most suitable treasure for Luo Feng. Although the Tower Pearl, the star map, and Shou Wing were all invaluable treasures, they had different uses. Shou Wing was used to escape, where the Tower Pearl was for soul stabilization. As for the star map, it was used for attack. Shou Wing couldn't help much if Luo Feng wanted to increase his combat capabilities. However, the star map could wield tremendous power if it was fully utilized. Precious few of the invincible emperors had treasures for attack. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Luo Feng began his practice deep in the snow and connected to the virtual universe. He experimented in the virtual universe with his new moves over and over again. He didn't need to simulate the star map. All he needed to do was get a weapon with spiritual force that was in the same class. He paid attention to spiritual force weapons now. The master of Chaos City had doubts, even while providing one competitor after another for Luo Feng. Luo Feng had been using blades before. However, the master of Chaos City didn't criticize Luo Feng, because he knew that Luo Feng would only learn a lesson after suffering losses. What he didn't know was that Luo Feng was most suitable for spiritual force weapons, and would be even more so when he became an undying. News spread in Ice Hell that Luo Feng was trying to create a series of secret moves for the star map using the virtual universe. How can I be lying about it, gossiped one. The combat between the human and Bone Emperor was incredible, and the energy wave made me watch it from afar. I saw it with my own eyes, and everything I have told you is true. It's too outrageous, replied another. You're saying that the human is able to teleport himself 10 times faster than Bone Emperor, and is the fastest one in Ice Hell. The 5 invincible emperors in Ice Hell all possess extraordinary skills, and 3 of them are special creatures. How can they be slower than this human? This is the truth. The one who shared the news was irritated. I'm not saying that I don't believe you. We've been taking care of each other like siblings, and that's how we have survived until now in Ice Hell. But I just can't believe he can be that fast. It's just preposterous and too terrific to be convincing. I could feel the wave from the combat, said another. I flew out of the sea and watched it stealthily. This is what I saw. Come on. At least make yourself sound more reasonable, even if you're making stuff up. Ice Hell was not an excessively enormous place, and lots of creatures hiding in the icebergs, beneath the snow, or deep within the ice sea had been watching furtively when then sensed the wave, which was how the news began. However, only the stories told by the top beings were believed. Nevertheless, everything changed after Bone Emperor complimented the human and said he was the fastest in Ice Hell. The story became much more convincing when it came from Bone Emperor's mouth. Besides, Bone Emperor wouldn't lie, considering how full of itself it was. Asterisk 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 asterisk. 10 years later. One of the 5 invincible emperors, Sky Wolf, posted an updated version of the rankings in Ice Hell, and the human newcomer was ranked 18. Apparently, Sky Wolf thought highly of the human, which was why he had ranked him at 18 after the mere 3 fights Luo Feng had. In the profile for Luo Feng, it said, Speedy. If the rumors were favorable to the human newcomer initially, the rumors that followed were not so much. That human must possess an anonymous account to connect to the virtual universe. He's the only human in Ice Hell, and he is definitely able to connect to the virtual universe by himself. He must also have a high social status, given his powers, not to mention that he's a spiritual force leader who can control some slaves, and he needs to use an anonymous account in the virtual universe to accomplish that. These rumors were logical and convincing. The virtual universe. An anonymous account. These things were already fairly attractive to the creatures in Ice Hell. They were patient, however, thanks to the time they had spent here, and they did not act on their intentions at first. After a while, some creatures started to look for Luo Feng in private, but only a considerably small portion of them actually had the guts to challenge him, since they knew how strong he was. Only a few of them could actually find Luo Feng. Why can't I find him? Where is he hiding at? Why can't we find him? Ice Hell is not that big of a place, and we've searched every inch of it. The several powerful creatures looking for Luo Feng were a little irritated. Theoretically, it should have been easy for them to use godly power to find him. What they didn't know was that Luo Feng owned a highly developed microdetector that could completely hide his information. There were a couple of other creatures that owned the microdetectors, but those were more primitive than that of Luo Feng. They just could not find him. Asterisk 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 asterisk. A strong creature in northern Ice Hell known as Silver Eye lived at the peak of an iceberg, where a splendid palace was built. Silver Eye ranked second in all of Ice Hell, and was one of the 5 invincible emperors. His eyes were closed most of the time. However, if he opened his eyes and someone was spotted, that creature was doomed. Virtual universe. On the throne of the palace sat a 30-meter tall god in white battle armor. He had a giant pair of slanted eyes, and his entire body was vibrating, which emanated invisible waves that affected time. 2 emperors, manipulated mentally by Silver Eye, groveled on the ground before the throne. Nobody wanted to be a slave due to despair in Ice Hell, so the only way was mind control. Master, according to the information, nobody saw that human possessing an anonymous account, said the first slave. However, he is a spiritual force leader, which means it's highly likely that he has a device to connect to the virtual universe. I think so too, Master, the second slave spoke up. I want to see this human, Silver Eye declared. Master, nobody has been able to find him. He excels at hiding himself. Oh? The enormous silhouette marched down from the throne and said, then I'll go look for him myself. It's been a long time since I last left Northern Ice Hell, but it's well worth it to acquire the anonymous account and placate my loneliness. He then walked out of the palace and started to search for Luo Feng. Although Silver Eye was ranked the second in Ice Hell, it was difficult to tell which one of the 5 invincible emperors was the strongest because, for a significant amount of time, each of them had focused on occupying a single district. As for Silver Eye, he was good at law of time and was a special creature. Therefore Luo Feng's speed was nothing to him. Speed was useless in front of time pause. He left his palace only because he was sure that Luo Feng wouldn't get away. Silver Eye began to look for Luo Feng without concealing the news. Incredible to all the creatures in Ice Hell was that even Silver Eye could not find the human. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Inside his cave in Eastern Ice Hell, Luo Feng's microdetector had been on stealth zone the whole time. He had changed his own detector to the microdetector worth tens of billions of mixed elements with the huge amount of fortunes he had earned in the outer sector battlefield. Luo Feng intended it to be his life-saving straw, so naturally, he was willing to purchase the top-tier one. Luo Feng sat in the hall with his legs crossed, and his mind connected to the virtual universe. Inside the practice field of the virtual universe, he did battle. Howl! The giant beast was entrenched in the sky with its mouth breathing fire toward Luo Feng. Tail of Beast God, concentration. There were 160 golden pearls with intricate engravings floating around Luo Feng. They flew out under Luo Feng's control like traces of light, and became tens of thousands of golden threads. Suddenly, a 1,000-meter-long beast god appeared in the sky. This beast god was nothing like the one under Beast God Soldier. Beast God Soldier had 6 moves, which were all invented by Shiluo Duo. Once they were exercised, the phantom of the beast god became real and started to evolve. When the 6th move was exercised, the phantom became almost indistinguishable from the real beast god. The phantom created by Luo Feng, however, was completely different. The phantom looked pretty vague and blurry except for the tail, which was made of hard, bony scuts. It looked exactly like the tail of the real beast god. Shiluo Duo had never seen the real beast god sculpture, Luo Feng murmured, whereas I own it and am able to see each engraving on the scute. My golden horned beast avatar has been studying the engravings on the tail for 100 years, and my secret move focuses on the tail. All the other parts of the body were illusory, but the tail. Shiluo Duo wasn't wrong. He never owned a beast god sculpture, so he needed to improve the phantom as a whole gradually. I, however, actually have it, and thus I'm able to concentrate the spiritual force in one place. Howl! The scorpion beast engulfed in fire trembled and marched towards the beast god. The beast god marched toward it roaring. They clashed in the sky, and the beast god's head and claws became vapor. After the attack of the scorpion, it condensed into the head phantom again, with its scute-covered tail authentic and ready to move. It was rapid as lightning. It hit the scorpion beast right on its head, which burst open. Its whole godly body trembled before turning into dust. Done. Luo Feng was pleased. A person in a golden cape appeared in the sky. Luo Feng turned to him and greeted him politely, teacher. He was somehow confused because he had gone to the palace in Thunder Island to greet his teacher after he created Moon Policy. But this time, the Castellan of Chaos City came to the practice field himself. Your secret move to control your spiritual force weapon is as good as your blade move, now, the Castellan complimented. Luo Feng listened quietly. However, real battles are different from battles in the virtual universe, the Castellan continued. Fight 10 creatures and come see me again. Yes, teacher, Luo Feng answered with great respect. He also wanted to try his new moves. Go, the Castellan said. Luo Feng saluted to the Castellan before leaving the virtual universe. The Castellan shook his head. Warriors and spiritual force leaders are different. Even though he studied the beast god, he did not concentrate on a single move, as every other powerful one does. Every powerful one does this, no matter how powerful they are. He shouldn't have tried both schools. Only after he's defeated will he learn. The Castellan then disappeared. This video will end here.